All right. Shalom. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua B'Katham to the brothers. Shalom. Yahweh Shema Alathun by Hashem Yahushua to the sisters. We're the Israelite School, Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. All right. So tonight's class is the Lashawan Qadash class. All right. Tonight's class is the Lashawan Qadash class. We're going to be learning about a word or a preposition, Salakia, an article, learning about definite articles in the preposition, learning how the word Ahth in the Hebrew, it may not have a meaning. The word Ahth may not have a meaning, but it does serve a purpose in the Hebrew, and it's also very important to learn when you're learning the Hebrew. All right, it's very important to learn when you're learning the Hebrew. All right. So we'll go ahead and get to it. All right. So make sure you sign in, put your name, city, and state. When you sign in, make sure you put your name, city, and state. All right. Do not forget to put your name, city, and state. All right. All right. All right. Make sure everybody can see the board. Make sure you put your name, city, and state. Don't forget to check in. Most High in Christ. Shalom, everybody. This is the very now. Remember, now the Lashawan Qadash is a very important class. All right. When you wanna learn about the Hebrew, learning the Hebrew is something very important when you start learning and when you start studying the Bible and you want to start talking about the Bible and you're learning about the Bible, learning the Hebrew language is actually a very key part in understanding the Bible. If you do not know the Hebrew, you're not really going to know the Bible. I may say this class after class after class, but Hebrew is very important to learn because Hebrew is the original language that the Bible was written in. A lot of things are going to be misunderstood if you do not understand the language that the Bible was written in. Like, this is the language of the people that the Bible talks about. You understand that? Like, Hebrew is the language of the people that the Bible speaks about. So to not understand Hebrew and not to learn Hebrew and not to have some form of foundation of Hebrew in your life when discussing topics about the Bible is absolutely bizarre. I pray everybody understands that. Like, I really hope everybody understands. Y'all feel me? Like, when it comes to teaching the Bible, when it comes to understanding the Bible, there has to be a foundation of the language that the Bible was written in, which is Hebrew. Right? You have to have a understanding of that, because if not, the Bible is going to be really hard to understand at times. You understand? Like, these words mean something as well. Like, there's a reason why these words they were translated from the Hebrew into the English. So those words that are being used in English, they were used purposely, right? Because the Hebrew word for that word means something. Like, there's a meaning behind everything. There's a purpose behind everything, and we have to understand that. All right. So you want to learn the Hebrew. So the Lashawan Qadash class is another important class to attend. I say this over every class too as well. All the classes, when it comes to the ayah, should be very important to understand. You want to attend class, all the classes, so you can understand everything that's going on when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to history, when it comes to certain things like that, and etc., etc., and etc. You know, because a lot of people are going to debate you over and over and over again why you want to believe in the Bible and why you want to follow God and etc., etc. Like, that will happen because you choose to follow the Bible and you choose to serve God. A lot of our own people and other nations and races of people are going to question you and try to challenge you. That's why it's important to come to class. That's why it's very important to come to class. Because this is where you learn everything that people are going to challenge you on. Alright? Everybody understands that? So you also want to keep that in consideration. Alright? You can't just come to one class out of the week or two classes out of the week and expect to know the Bible. You want to do your best to learn everything when it comes to these scriptures, alright? Because you will be challenged on these type of things. And they're going to try to take you out of the truth. And these people are going to try to take you from your belief, which is really taking you away from your culture and your heritage and the traditions that were passed down from the Most High to your ancestors down to you. That's how crazy it is. For someone to take you away from your belief is them taking you away from your culture and your heritage. For anyone, no matter what race they are, for them to try to stop you from what you believe in. If you believe in the Bible and you are an Israelite, and someone is trying to stop you from believing in what you believe in, that's them trying to take away your culture. That is them trying to take away your heritage. That's them taking away the traditions that the Lord passed down to you, your ancestors, all the way down. All right? All the way down. That's exactly what they're doing. They're literally doing the same thing that our oppressor is doing. If you are so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American, and you are trying to take other blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that are Israelites, that know that they're Israelites, right? That believe in the Bible, that believe in God the right way and the correct way when it comes to keeping His laws, statutes, and commandments behind the walls of the Isupk. You are taking their culture away and their heritage away by you trying to take away their belief. All right? That's what our people are doing, and they're doing exactly what our oppressor wants them to do, and they're doing exactly what our oppressor has done and continues to do. Strip us away from our culture, strip us away from our heritage, and strip us away from the traditions that the Lord passed down to us. Like, this is who we are as a nation of people. This is who we are as a race of people. What's the harm? What's the harm in believing in God? You know what I'm saying? What's the harm in believing in the Bible? What's the harm in believing in the Most High? Where's the harm? Where is it? Where's the harm when we say Christ is not white but He's black? Where's the harm? Where's the harm in saying that God said to keep His commandments? Where's the harm? But you want to do anything in your power as a Christian or some Muslim or some Egyptologist or some Moor to try to take us away from our culture and our heritage while you're busy following someone else's culture and heritage and their religion and their belief. We're trying to follow what's exactly ours and what was passed down to us and us only. You want to follow in things that everyone else believes in and everyone else's culture and everyone else's heritage that belongs to somebody else and not you. You want to keep everything but what the Most High wants you to keep. This is something that we have to understand, and it's something that we have to look at. All right? If you guys have any questions, just let me know. All right? All right. All right. So let's get it. Okay, so the reason why we want to break down how we want to hold on one second, let me get this right. Okay, so the reason why we're focusing on how to use Ahth, because Ahth is actually Slakia. The word Ahth, well, it's not really a word. Okay, it doesn't really have a meaning, but how can I explain it? Okay, Ahth is used throughout the scriptures. Ahth is used throughout the Bible. It's very well used when it comes to speaking in the Hebrew, writing in the Hebrew, reading in the Hebrew. Alright? Ahth is more so like a sign. Ahth isn't much. Okay, so when the word Ahth is more so a sign than it is an actual word. And what I mean by that, Ahth is neither a noun, it's neither a verb, neither a subject, neither is it an object. Alright, so I'll say that one more time. The word Ahth is neither a noun, neither a verb, neither a subject, nor is it an object. Ahth is more so like a sign. So the word Ahth is more like a sign. Now you may have seen this word before in the scriptures, and I'm gonna write it in the Hebrew right now. Make sure you guys can see that still. All right. God. You guys can still see that? I'm sorry, Christ. Okay. All right. So now you have, okay, so what we have on the board is Ahth. All right. Let me see if you guys can see that very clear. I'm going to check to see if you guys can see that very clear. Okay, Khan, that's clear. Okay, so what we have on the board is the word Ahth. Now remember, the word Ahth is not so much a word, meaning it's more so like a sign, because Ahth is neither a noun, a verb, a subject, or an object. It's neither of the two. Ahth is more like a sign. It's more so as we're going to call it in this case an identifier. All right, it's an identifier. So Ahth allows you to identify something. Specifically, in the word Ahth helps you identify a direct object, not an indirect object, but indirect object. All right, and we're going to go through this lesson, and I'm going to break down the difference between a direct object and an indirect object as well. All right, when it comes to learning the Hebrew language, it's not just learning a whole bunch of words. We're going to have to learn how to grammatically use this language correctly. There is a proper way to speak the Hebrew. There's a proper way to write the Hebrew. There's also a proper way to, I think I already said it, to read the Hebrew. There's a proper way of doing it. All right, so don't think that there isn't. There's a proper way to write it. There's a proper way to read it. There's a proper way to speak it. All right, there's a proper way of doing all of that. Now, all of them may differ, but there's always a proper way to do each one. and we're going to break down how to properly write and speak and read the Hebrew. There may be some differences, but they're not morally, but overall, it's pretty much the same. So, specifically, Ahth is grammatically used in the Lashawan Qadash. The word Ahth is very, very much used grammatically when it comes to learning the Lashawan Qadash or when it comes to learning the Hebrew. So it's pronounced as Ahth. All right, let me get my handy dandy teaching stick. All right, so this is your Ahth. So this is your Ahth. So this right here is your Assyrian script. This right here is your modern script. All right, so this is your Ahth in the Assyrian script or the modern script, and this is what your Tha would look like in the in the modern script or the Assyrian script. Once you put it together, it's pronounced as Ahth. Ahth, specifically Ahth. 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 All right, you will see words, right, in the Hebrew, all right, that will be written just like this, but it is an actual word and not much so of an identifier or a sign like Ahth. It would be pronounced either as a Tha, meaning with. Not with. Ahth, meaning with as well, or a Tha, meaning you. But usually there's a Ha behind it. Sometimes there won't be, but usually there's a Ha behind that, a Tha, letting you know that's referring to the subject pronoun you. All right? In some cases there is. Some cases there isn't a Ha. It'll just have this, but it will still mean you. But that's a case-by-case scenario when you're reading it. All right? Okay. So this is the word Ahth. Same here. Very same word, but written in the Paleo. Very same word, but written in the ancient script. You have Ahth. This is your Ahth in the Lashawan Qadash in the Hebrew. This is what your Tha looks like in the Lashawan Qadash and the Hebrew. This is what it looks like. Ahth. Ahth. All right? Ahth. All right? Now remember, the word Ahth is very much used when it comes to speaking and reading the Lashawan Qadash. And I'll even get on the board an example in the Bible, all right, on how it's written, all right? Okay. So let's break down what Ahth. Now, I'm going to write on the board what Ahth is. And we're going to use examples, all right, on how to use Ahth and the purpose behind Ahth. All right. Also, if you're in class, make sure you put your name, city, and state. Don't forget to check in. All right. So, first things first. To understand Ahth, we're going to have to first understand the difference between a direct object and an indirect object. All right. There's a difference because using the word Ahth, Ahth is used with direct objects, but not indirect objects. Okay. So we're going to have to learn what a direct object is and an indirect object is, because if we do not know what a direct object is and we do not know what a indirect object is, then we're not going to know how to properly use the word Ahth. Because remember, the word Ahth is not so much a word when it comes as in like a noun, like a person, place, or thing, or a verb, or a subject, or an object, or a pronoun. The word Ahth is more so used as an identifier in the sentence. All right, it's more so like it's an identifier. It helps you identify the direct object that the verb, all right, is that is correlated with or being referred to. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get that for you. Or more so, okay, the more so I should say this. A direct object lets you know, all right, what, okay, that the verb has a relationship to which object being used. All right. All right. So direct object. All right. I'm going to put it into simpler terms. Okay, I'm going to put this definition in the most simplest way that I can. All right. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Can everybody see that on the board so far? Okay. Let me see. Can everybody see that on the board? I'm gonna double check myself, but I want to make sure everyone sees that definition. All right. No sweat. All right, everybody can see that. Just let me know, kind of like.
I can't get no space, but it's been quiet. I can't get no space.
Okay, so what we have on the board is the most simplest definition for a direct object. So first we have to understand an object is either some type of noun. Okay, so an object itself is like a noun, like a light is a okay. So we know a noun is a person, place, or thing. All right. So a noun is either a person, place, or thing. So an object has to be a noun. Like a light would be a noun because it's a thing. A city would be a noun because it's a thing. It's a city. A box would be a noun because it's a thing. You know, a toy would be a noun because it's a thing. So a noun is either a person, place, or thing. So an object is either a noun would be either a person, place, or thing. But a direct object is directly a noun, right? So this is the definition, the simplest definition for a direct object. So in a direct object is a noun that the verb, proper pronoun, or pronoun is directly being used with. All right? I emphasize directly. Why? Because it's directed to a certain noun. It's directed to a certain thing. All right? This is something that we have to learn and know when it comes to how to use the word Ahth and the purpose of the word Ahth. Now remember, the word Ahth is not so much a word. It's not so much either a noun, right? Either a person, place, or thing. It's not a verb. It's not a pronoun, nor is it a subject pronoun or anything like that, or an object pronoun. It's none of that. Ahth, the word Ahth in the Lashawan Qadash, the word Ahth in the Hebrew is more so an identifier, is more so a sign to allow you to identify a direct object. So an Ahth, the purpose of the Ahth is to allow you to identify the direct object within the sentence being said in the Hebrew or the Lashawan Qadash. All right. So, a direct object is a noun that the verb, proper pronoun, or pronoun is directly being used with. That's what a direct object is. Okay, that's what a direct object is. Okay, all right. If I may add too, all right, a direct object is also a noun, right? That's used with the definite article the. All right. Let me write that down on the board. I'm gonna add also. Everybody see that right there at the bottom too as well? So like your princess, stop that. Just lay down. Now, okay, so now, if you guys can see that on the board, I also wrote on the board, also a noun being used in conjunction with the word the. That's also a way to identify in a direct object. This is how you know what a direct object is a noun that the verb, proper pronoun, or pronoun is directly being used with. So that noun that in a sentence allows you to know, okay, if there's a verb in the sentence, right? If there's a verb in the sentence, all right, and then there's a noun in the sentence, that verb and noun are connected in some way and form. So that verb and that noun in some way, shape, and form is connected. The reason that noun, if that verb is connected with that noun in some way, shape, and form, right, that would be your direct object. Okay? If there's a pronoun, right, that's with a noun. So if there's a pronoun with a noun, because remember, pronouns are used in conjunction with nouns, meaning pronouns are together with nouns. Okay? You will not have a pronoun and there is no noun. That's almost impossible in most cases. Almost. I could probably think of a possible way, but in most cases that's impossible to have a pronoun and not have a noun. But in the Hebrew for sure, and in the Lashawan Qadash for sure, you cannot have a pronoun without a noun. Okay? And that depends on what that also depends, of course, on what type of pronoun. It could be a subject pronoun, it could be an object pronoun, it could be a possessive pronoun. But I'm going to focus on the possessive pronoun. But it could be any pronoun. But let's focus on a possessive pronoun, because we know our possessive pronouns like my, yours, his, hers, ours, theirs, right, and things like that. So we know our possessive pronouns. So a possessive pronoun, right? If there's a possessive pronoun, right here, you see this pronoun right here? A possessive pronoun, right, being used in conjunction with a noun, right? That noun would be classified as a direct object. That's a direct object. That noun right there is a direct object. Does everybody understand? Okay. Now another thing too. All right. If you have a let's see. Okay, a proper pronoun. Okay, some of us may have to kind of think back. Some of us may have to think back all the way to high school or middle school, because some of these terms being thrown at you guys today, or even thrown at me today, right? Might get a little difficult. It may get not a little difficult, but it might be like, man, I haven't learned this in a while. I never heard these words in a very long time. I would have never known I'm going to be doing something like this again. Listen, the Isupk, we're the Israelite school of universal practical knowledge. We don't have dummies back here. All right? We don't tolerate dummies. We don't tolerate idiots. We don't tolerate none of that. We are very smart individuals, and that's for our brothers and our sisters. All right? All right? So we're very smart back here. We're very intelligent. We have to know these type of things. All right? That's how important it is to understand our culture and our heritage and the traditions that the Lord passed down to us. We have to be smart. We have to be intelligent. And the Lord made us smart and made us intelligent. So we're going to go over what a proper pronoun is. All right? Like a warrior, you better stop. So, now, a proper pronoun, all right, would be like, okay, a proper pronoun would be someone, right? It's still a noun, it's still a pronoun, right? But it's a proper pronoun. So a proper pronoun would be more so like someone or something particular, like a name or an individual. Okay, does that kind of make sense? So like it could literally would be a name or an individual. Like for instance, more so like, okay, Michael. Michael is a name, right? Michael is an individual. It's actually someone. It's actually somebody. Mike is a proper pronoun. Elijah is a proper pronoun. Pronoun. Ezekiel is a proper pronoun. Now let's think like a name of a city, like Brooklyn, or let's say Harlem or Queens, or Baltimore, or Washington D.C., or Atlanta, or California, or Jerusalem, right? Jerusalem, right? Or Nod, right? Or the land of Uz, like Uz, like in the Bible. Like these are names of lands and cities, right? Those would be proper pronouns. That's what a proper pronoun. So if you see a proper pronoun being used in conjunction or being used with, conjunction means with. Okay, conjunction means with. So when I say conjunction, I'm meaning with. Okay, with. All right. Conjunction is just a fancy word for the word with. All right. So that's why I'm saying conjunction. Okay, don't want to confuse anyone, but being used with. So in conjunction with or with, I keep saying it. They pretty much mean the same thing. All right. It's meaning with something. It's directly correlated with something. So if you say a proper pronoun is in conjunction with a noun, that noun would be classified as a direct object. All right? If everybody understands. So that's what a direct object is. Does everybody kind of understand? If not, just let me know, comment if you guys kind of understand. All right? But that's what a direct object is. It's a noun that the verb, proper pronoun, or pronoun is directly being used with. Now, in the English language, it's very easy to know a direct object, and here's why. Because we understand this basis already. Not so much the verb part, but the proper pronoun and or proper pronoun and the word the. We understand that much in the English. Why? Because if I say the cat, right, that the allows you to know, okay, that the allows you to identify the direct object. The cat, that cat is the direct object. The cat, that's your direct object. If I say Mike's car, right, that's Michael's car, right? That's the direct object. The car is your direct object because Michael or Mike is the proper pronoun being directly used with the noun. That's a direct object. All right? Everybody kind of get it? But now, when it comes to verbs, right? When it comes to using verbs, right? It's kind of iffy, right? To understand which one is the direct object. Right? If I say I went to the store, right? The verb in there is went. Right? The store, right? The store would be the direct object. Right? That would be the direct object. In the Hebrew, all right? In the Hebrew, the word ahth is only used in conjunction with direct objects. That's why I brought this up. Ahth is only used with direct objects. Right? It's only used in conjunction or with direct objects. It's not used with indirect objects. Meaning if you don't see this, if you don't see any of this when reading, then most likely it is an indirect object and not a direct object, all right? All right. I'll let you guys copy this real quick. But now this, make sure you guys have this in your notes, because this is something that you're going to have to remember when it comes to using the word Ahth. Now remember, you will always use the word Ahth. You will always use the word Ahth when it comes to direct objects. You will only use, all right, you will only use the word Ahth when it comes to direct objects. All right? Lucky. All right. All right. Let's see. Let's get to it. I'm seeing if I want to. I don't want to go to the examples yet, because I don't want to confuse anybody. Not yet. All right. now, remember, Ahth is only used with direct objects, alright? Only used with direct, so Ahth, the word Ahth in Hebrew is used with direct objects, alright? Only used with direct objects. Remember that definition of direct object, because you're not going to understand, alright? If you do not know the definition of a direct object, then you're not going to understand how to use the word Ahth. Now remember, the word Ahth is not so much, alright? I'm going to get that definition on the board now. Okay? So the word Ahth, alright, I'm going to get the word Ahth right here. The definition of Ahth. Alright? Okay, so what we have on the board is the word Ahth. Alright? Of course, in the beginning of class, I wrote this down. Okay, I wrote the word Ahth down. But you see Ahth, alright? You see Ahth in the Paleo, then you also see Ahth in the Assyrian. This is how it's written in the English. Ahth is a sign of the definite direct object. Definite just means for sure. Alright, meaning for sure. Definite. Alright, it just means for sure. This is the direct object. So Ahth is a sign. That's why I say over and over again, Ahth is not so much a word in the sense of it's not a noun, it's not a pronoun, it's not a subject, nor is it an object. It's a sign to let you know the definite direct object. It allows you and it helps you identify the direct object in the sentence when Hebrew is being spoken of, or when you're speaking Hebrew, writing Hebrew, and etc. etc. It allows you to identify the definite direct object. Why? Because in Hebrew, a sentence, it doesn't matter how you put the words in the Hebrew. Okay, in English, you have to put words in a certain way. In Hebrew, you can put words anywhere, and it wouldn't even make sense to you. But that Ahth allows you to make the sentence make sense. Alright? Think of the Ahth that way. The Ahth allows you to make something make sense. Alright? Because in Hebrew, or when you're speaking in Hebrew, or when you're writing in Hebrew, and when you're speaking and writing the Lashawan Qadash, there is no set way to put the words. You can put the words in any location. Alright? You can put words anywhere, and no matter what format. Right? You can write the sentence, I was going to the store, backwards like store I was going. Right? In English, that sounds completely crazy. But in Hebrew, that's completely normal. Why? Because that Ahth allows you to identify, right, that the direct object is the store, and of course in English that would translate to I was going to the store instead of the store I was going. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? Kind of like, if not, it will further be explained. All right. But that's how Hebrew is. The store I'm going. It's almost like okay, think of not to sound nerdy or nothing, but I'm a Star Wars fan. All right, I'm like into Star Wars and Star Trek and all that good stuff. All right, and so in Star Wars you had a dude named Yoda. You know what I'm saying? He was a savage. He was not so much a savage. He was a beast. Or he was just a good dude. Like he was good at what he did. Like he was the top-notch dude or whatever the case may be. Not to go into a whole Star Wars lesson because this is the Lashawan Qadash, all right? But Yoda, the way he spoke was backwards. Like he would say things weird. Like he would if you had a whole conversation with Yoda, you would have to translate because he would say things backward. He good he is instead of saying he is good. Does that make sense? He would say the store I went instead of saying I went to the store. Does that kind of make sense to everybody? It's like he was talking backwards. In Hebrew, you are allowed to talk backwards, but this has to be used so people can understand what the hell you're talking about, all right? Hopefully everybody understands that breakdown, but Salakia, that was the only way I could think of how to explain it to you guys. All right, so Salakia for using a Star Wars reference. So Bubba Krashah, bear with me. All right, but that's how you can that's what it boils down to when speaking the Lashawan Qadash, and what it boils down to when speaking the Hebrew language. So it could be spoken backwards, but you're completely grammatically correct as long as this is involved when it needs to be involved. All right, which is the word Ahth. Yes, princess. Come, princess. Okay, no sweat. Water.
No, I'm not done. I still got one chocolate.
No sweat. No sweat. Go ahead and put it in this thing. All right. No sweat, princess. You can definitely do that. Okay. So Ahth is a sign of the definite direct object. So a definite direct object. The only thing that's saying so there's no confusion, all right? So there's no confusion. All that is saying, all right? All that is saying is that this for sure is the direct object. All right? You want to know what the direct object is. Okay? You want to know because you want the sentence to make sense. Remember, think back to the Star Wars reference that I said. When speaking the Hebrew, you can actually speak Hebrew backwards, right? And that would be grammatically correct. But that Ahth allows you, right? That Ahth allows you, all right, to make that sentence make sense. Like I said, you can speak Yoda in Hebrew. The store I went, good he is. Great. Great is great Brooklyn, or should I say the city great it is, right? Or instead of saying the city is great, like you can speak like that in Hebrew and still be grammatically correct, but Ahth has to be used in certain cases. All right. So now we're probably gonna have to get. So we're gonna get some examples on the board so we can further explain this. All right. All right, so let's get it. Everybody kind of understands the definition of Ahth. Ahth is more so a sign, all right, of the definite direct object. Meaning Ahth, all right, Ahth, right, is only, now remember, the word Ahth is only used with definite direct objects. Remember, Ahth. Ahth is only used with direct objects. Ahth will not be used with any other thing except for direct objects. Not indirect objects, but with direct objects. All right? Okay? Conference, go ahead.
Can we have like a donut floating, a donut floating, a donut floating? Like
okay, so we're going to get an example on the board. So I'm going to get Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 on the board, all right? I'm going to write Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 on the board to help us understand, all right, how the word Ahth is used, all right? And I'm going to use the paleo so it's understood. Well, I can also write it in the Syrian too. Well, you know what? I'm going to write it in the Syrian.
no, stop getting girl toys, Noah.
Okay. Perfect. So this is
Daddy.
so what I have on the board now is Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 in the Lashawan Qadash, alright? Making sure everybody can see it. Okay, most high Christ. So this is Genesis chapter 1 in the Lashawan Qadash. Alright? We're going to break it down in a sec. So don't allow this to discourage you in any way. Alright. What's going on, Rick? Alright.
It's okay when the voice is
Try to keep it going, okay? Okay, so what we have on the board is Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. We'll break it down in a sec. I'm going to say it in the Hebrew, and then I'm going to point out how Ahth is used. So I'm going to point out where and when and why Ahth is used. Now this scripture right here is a perfect scripture when it comes to understanding how Ahth is used. Okay? Alright. Salaki. Okay. Now remember, keep in mind, Ahth is only used with a direct object. Ahth is only used with a direct object. So now what we have on the board is Bara'ashya. I'm going to point to it while I say it. Bara'ashya. Alright, so this is what we have on the board. Bara'ashya. Bara'ah. Alahayim. Ahth. Hashemayim. Wa'ah. Ha'arataza. Alright, so Bara'ashya, Bara'ah, Alahayim, Ahth, Hashemayim, Wa'ah, Ha'arataza. Alright, this is like a scripture that everyone probably knows by heart in the Hebrew. Barashya, Bara'ah, Alahayim, Ahth, Hashemayim, Wa'ah, Ha'arataza. Alright, this is like a scripture that everyone knows in the Hebrew, in the Lashawan Qadash, because it's the very first scripture in the Bible. And then two, it's very easy to say and understand. It's like a basic scripture in the Hebrew and how to read the Hebrew. Bara'ashya, Bara'ah, Alahayim, Ahth, Hashemayim, Wa'ah, Ha'arataza. Now I'm going to break down what each word means, and I'm also going to break down the word Ahth. So, Bara'ashya. Bara'ashya literally means in the beginning. Ba meaning in, Ra'ashya. This is an entire word that literally means in the beginning. Bara'ashya means in the beginning. So if you want to say in the beginning, all you have to say is Bara'ashya. And people will say, okay, he's saying in the beginning. Bara'ashya, meaning in the beginning. So if you wanted to say, where were you? And you'd be like, Bara'ashya, to be funny, all you said was in the beginning. Like, where were you? Bara'ashya, in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not I'm not saying y'all to be smart and, be a smart aleck and say that to anybody. All right. If your rib asks you where you were and you say Barashia, I'm not saying for you guys to say that. All right. Of course, priest and officer 1,000 Rashama, I would say that, but of course I run my household a little different, and of course and things like that. I'm just that type of person. I would say something like that just to be funny, because why would you be asking me anything like that? But with that being said, Salakia, let's continue. All right, that's just me. All right, but if you wanted to say something like that to anybody just to be funny or etc., Bara Ashyaf literally just means in the beginning. All right, so Bara Ashyaf means in the beginning. All right, Bara Ashyaf, Bara'ah is a verb. Bara'ah is a verb. All right, Bara'ah is a verb. All right, Bara'ah is a verb. Let's get that. Bara'ah is a verb meaning to create. Bara'ah is a verb meaning to create. Can everybody see that I'm telling you that it's a verb? Let's see. Okay, good. Y'all can see that. So Bara'ah is a verb. It's a verb. Bara'ah. Bara'ah means to create. So if you want to create something, you would use the word or the verb Bara'ah. Okay? You would use the word Bara'ah. Okay, so to create something, to form something, to shape something, Bara'ah. Alright? If you want to say I'm creating something, I'm shaping something, or I'm forming something, you would use the word Bara'ah. So Bara'ah in the beginning. Bara'ah. Right? Bara'ah meaning create. Alahayim. Right? Alahayim. Alahayim. Alahayim is the Hebrew word for powers. The Hebrew word for powers, meaning plural, that yum that you see right here, that ya and that ma, that yum allows you to know that this is a pluralized word. Allah by itself just means power, right? Referring to an angel. Alahayim is referring to the angels, which is usually referring to the work being done ordered by the Lord. That's why when you see the word God, G-O-D, right? And when you look in the Hebrew, it says Alahayim. It's because these are the angels doing the work of the Lord that the Lord ordered them to do. That's why it says Alahayim. Because it's referring to the powers that the Lord ordered to do. That's why Alahayim, and you see in the Bible, it's capitalized G-O-D, meaning God. Alahayim, because it's the Most High giving the angels orders to do whatever He said to do. So Alahayim, so that means it's still the Lord doing it, but the angels were ordered to do it. It's still of the Lord. That's all it's saying. It's still of the Lord. Alahayim is still letting you know it's of the Lord because the angels done it, and the angels are of the Lord. Does that kind of make sense to everybody? Let me know if that doesn't make sense. I'll try to make it even simpler. All right, if not. But Alahayim is just letting you know that it's of the Lord because it's being done by the angels that are of the Lord. But Alahayim is pluralized for powers, referring to the angels. Powers. Right? Powers, meaning some form of authority. When I say powers, I'm not saying I can shoot fire beams out of my hand or anything like that. That's not what I'm referring to. Or, I can turn myself invisible. I have some type of power. No. Power as in authority. All right? In that context, some type of authority. And angels have authority under the Lord. Meaning that so angels are of the Lord. Alright, so Alahayim. Alahayim. Referring to powers. Referring to the angels. Alahayim. Right? So Bara'asha. Meaning in the beginning. Bara'ah. Meaning to create. Or to shape or to form. Alahayim. Meaning powers. Right? Ahth. Here you go. Here's your Ahth. This is your Ahth. Your Ahth is a sign to help you identify the direct object being used. The Ahth right here is put there for a reason. It's to help you identify the direct object being used. This bara'ah is the verb. Bara'ah is the verb. Ahth here is to let you know what bara'ah is doing to whatever noun. So it says bara'asha, bara'ah, alahayim. Now remember, alahayim is a noun. Right? Bara'ash, so like you 1 second. So remember, bara'ashaf is a noun. Bara'ah is a verb. Alahayim is a noun. But Ahth is a sign to help you identify the direct object in the sentence. So bara'ashaf, bara'ah, alahayim, Ahth, hashemayim. Shemayim meaning heavens. So shemayim. Shemayim is a noun. Shemayim is a noun. Shemayim is a noun. Right? Meaning heavens or heaven. Right? So Shemayim is a noun for heaven or heavens. Alright? Shemayim. Alright? Shemayim meaning heavens. Right? Alright? Which is referring to the heavens. Shemayim is a noun. Ha meaning the. Ha Shemayim. So the heavens. Right? The heaven. The heavens. Right? Wa'ah. Wa'ah. Right? You see that Ahth right there? Right? Now that Ahth. That Ahth. That Wa. That Wa meaning and. Ahth. That's another thing. Right? Is to allow you to help you identify alright, is to help you to identify the object being used, the direct object. Is to help you to identify the direct object. Alright? Wa'ah. Right? Ha meaning the Rataza meaning land or earth. So bara'asha in the beginning. Bara'ah created. Alahayim powers, right, or God. In the beginning created God. Ahth, Shemayim, the heaven. Wa'ah, and Parataza, the earth. So, in the beginning created God. Created God, the heaven, the earth. Right? If you want to translate this into the English, it would literally say, in the beginning created God, the heaven, the earth. Right? So I'll say that one more time. If you want to translate this into the English, it would say, in the beginning, God. It's like in the beginning created God, the heaven, the earth. Because these are not words. Ahth is not an actual word in the English. It's not translated in the English. That's another thing too. Ahth is not translated in the English. Alright? Ahth is not translated in the English. I'll say that one more time. Ahth is not translated in the English. So if you want to translate this sentence in the English, which we speak English right now. And if I said to you right now in Hebrew, Bara'ashaf, Bara'ah, Alahayim, Ahth, Hashemayim, Wa'at, Ha'arataza, you would be trying to translate that into English so you can understand what I'm saying in Hebrew. So by you translating this in English in your head, you already know Ahth are not words, so they are not translated. So it would literally, so you would translate in your head, in the beginning created God the heaven, the earth. That doesn't make sense to anybody. You're like, what in the hell? That's why it's important to understand the Ahth. We have to understand this Ahth. We have to understand it. We have to understand the Ahth, because the Ahth helps you make this make sense. Okay? Now remember, Ahth is used. Ahth is only used Ahth is only used with direct objects. Ha meaning, so you see this ha right here? That means the. If there's a noun, right? If there's a noun being used in conjunction with the, this is your object. This is your direct object. Ha'arataza. Ha meaning the. When the word the is used in direct conjunction with a noun, with a that's classified as a direct object, alright? Everybody understands that? That's enough. Sit down. Cut it out. No more crying, okay? No more fussing.
I'm not doing it.
No more fussing. Alright?
I'm not doing it.
That's it, Slut. I'm not speaking. Alright? No more fussing. Quiet down, son. Alright. So, remember, ha means the. Ha means the. So remember, when it comes to understanding direct objects, if the word the is being used in conjunction with a noun, that noun right here is a direct object. If the word the, which is ha in the Hebrew, is used in conjunction with a noun, which is a person, place, or thing, rataza, meaning land or earth, is a person, place, or thing. This would be classified as a direct object because it's used in conjunction with the. Shemayim, heaven, is used in conjunction with the. So these are your object pronouns. Ahth will always be in front, will always be used before the object, the direct object. Your Ahth will always be used before the direct object. Wa'at, your Ahth will always be used before the direct object. Ahth will always go before the direct object and not after. And it will always be next to the direct object and not somewhere else. Ahth will always be before the direct object. Ahth will always be before the direct object. So, Bara'ashya, Bara'ah, Alahayim, Ahth, Hashemayim, Wa'at, Ha'arataza. If you translate to the English, it would literally mean, in the beginning created God the earth, the heaven. This Ahth allows you to know what's being created. This Ahth lets you know that the heaven is being created and not the beginning. That Ahth lets you know that the land is being created and not the powers. It says Bara'ashah Bara'ah. In the beginning created God. If this did not in the beginning created God, the heaven, the earth, without this Ahth, this can mean in the beginning created God, meaning the beginning created God. If that Ahth was not there. It could also mean the beginning created God, the heavens, and the earth. Does that make sense? It will let you know what the direct object is being directly correlated to. So that's the importance of Ahth. So Bara'ashya, Bara'ah, Alahayim, Ahth, Hashemayim, Wa'ah, Ha'aratazah. That Ahth allows you to know what's being created. So now you know Alahayim. Alahayim right here. Alahayim is a what? In this sentence, Alahayim is a proper pronoun. Alahayim is a proper pronoun. In the beginning is just a noun. Bara'ah is a verb. Shemayim is your noun, but it's your direct object because it's used in direct conjunction with Ahth. Wa'ah ha'aratazah. Aratazah is a noun, but it's your direct object because it's used in conjunction with Ahth. That Ahth allows you to know what is being created and who is creating it. Bara'ashya Bara'ah Alahayim. Because that Ahth is there, now you know God, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Alright? Bara'ashya Bara'ah Alahayim Hashemayim Wa'ah Ha'aratazah. So Bara'ashya Bara'ah Alahayim Hashemayim Wa'ah Ha'aratazah. In the beginning, God created the earth and the created the heaven and the earth. Alright? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Alright? That's how you would break it down. Because remember, that Ahth allows you to know who and what is being created. Without this Ahth, without these Ahths, this sentence could mean anything. That's what I was trying to make everybody understand in the Hebrew. In Hebrew, you can write the sentence in any way. But there's a way to help you understand even further on what the sentence is talking about. So that's why that Ahth is being used. That's why that Ahth is there. Alright? Because without that Ahth, this sentence can mean the earth created. Because we speak English. So we're going to say the beginning created God, the earth, and the land, right? In English, we would put Alahayim first. In Hebrew, it doesn't matter where you put Alahayim. Right? In English, we would say Alahayim Bara'ashya Bara'ah Hashemayim Ha'aratazah to give a context that God, in the beginning, God created. Or we would say Bara'ashya Alahayim Bara'ah Hashemayim Ha'aratazah. Because in English, that would make sense. Because this means in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Right? But in Hebrew, it doesn't matter where you put Alahayim. It doesn't matter where you put Bara'ashya. It doesn't matter where you put Bara'ah. You can mix those three in any position you want. But that Ahth and that Wa'ah helps you understand the context of what this sentence means. So because this Ahth is there, because this Wa'ah is there, now you can understand that Alahayim is your proper pronoun. And then Bara'ashya is just a noun in Hebrew saying in the beginning, and bara'ah is your verb. So now you know that this is a proper pronoun, this is just giving the subject, and this is your verb. This is your noun, this is your proper pronoun, this is your subject, and then this is your verb. Now you know, but with Ahth being there, now you know that the verb is directly conjunction with these nouns right here, which would be classified as direct objects. Alright? Alright? So, the reason why I went over this lesson is because it's very important to understand the word Ahth. Because Ahth is very importantly used. Alright? Ahth is very importantly used. If you do not know Ahth and know how to use Ahth, alright, you're not going to be able to read Hebrew. And you're not going to be able to translate Hebrew as well as you should be learning how to translate Hebrew. You should be able to read Hebrew and translate it very well. But if you don't know how to use Ahth, then you're not going to be able to translate it as well as you should. Yes, can you translate it? But will you be able to know what it's really saying? No, if you don't know Ahth. You're not going to know what it's actually saying if you don't know Ahth. Because like I said, if we just translate to the English, if we just translate this sentence in the English right away, it just means the beginning created God, the heaven, the earth. If I'm just looking at it at face value, I'm thinking the beginning created God, the heaven, and the earth. But that's not what that's saying. That Ahth lets you know that in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Because of course, the more you study Hebrew, the more you have to understand the basics of language speaking. Meaning you have to identify, you're going to have to learn how to identify the proper pronoun. Then you're going to have to identify the subject, talking about the beginning. Then you're going to have to identify the verb being used, which is bara'ah, meaning to create. Then you're going to have to know the nouns being used, right? Which now would be classified as direct objects, which is your shemayim and your arataza. Alright, everybody understand that so far? This class will be here for you to rewatch. You can even skip ahead and go back and forth to, but this is it right here. You can go back into this class for a reference on how to use Ahth. Alright? I want you guys to rewatch this class from start to end so you guys actually know how to use Ahth. Okay? Bara'ah bara'ah alahayim Ahth hashemayim wa Ahth ha'arataza. That's Genesis chapter 1. That's Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 in the Lashawan Qadash in the Hebrew. This is a bedrock scripture to understand and learn when it comes to how to properly speak the Hebrew, read the Hebrew, and even write the Hebrew. This is basic. This is very basic, all right? Very, very basic, and it will help you. This one sentence will help you understand how Hebrew is spoken. Bara'ah shaf bara'ah alahayim Ahth hashemayim wa Ahth ha'arataza. It will help you. You can say it over and over again. Bara'ah shaf bara'ah alahayim Ahth hashemayim wa Ahth ha'arataza. All right. Some people say it really fast. Bara'ah shaf bara'ah Ahth ha'arataza, whatever. People say it really fast. All right. I don't. All right. I do not say it fast. I speak at a certain pace, so everybody can hear me and understand me. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with speaking it very fast, right? But I just personally don't do it. But bara'ah shaf bara'ah alahayim Ahth hashemayim wa Ahth ha'arataza. Right? Bara'ah shaf bara'ah alahayim Ahth hashemayim wa Ahth ha'arataza. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Okay? That once again, that Ahth allows you to understand what being created. This is the what's being created. Alahayim is not being created. The beginning is not being created. It's the heavens and the earth. That's the purpose of the Ahth. It allows you to know what the verb is doing. Alright? It lets you know what the verb is doing and what it's doing it to. That's the purpose of Ahth. It's to help you understand what the verb is doing and what the verb is doing it to. That's the purpose of Ahth. Without that Ahth, you wouldn't know what's being created. The beginning could be created. God could be being created. You wouldn't know. Heaven's being created. Land's being created. You don't know what's being created here. But that Ahth helps you understand what's being created. Bara'asha, Bara'ah, Alahayim, Ahth, Hashemayim, Wa'ah, Ratazah. That Ahth will always be before the noun. And that's what makes it the direct object. That Ahth will always come before the direct object. Wa'ah. That Ahth will always become before the direct object. Why? Because that Ahth is letting you know to help you identify the noun that's being created. Alright? Which is Shemayim meaning heaven, Aratazah meaning earth or land. Alright? Aratazah. Bara'ashat, Bara'ah, Alahayim, Ahth, Hashemayim, Wa'ah, Aratazah. Alright? Any questions? Kind of loud. Any questions? Anyone? Okay. With that, if there's no questions, all right, remember, I want you guys to rewatch this class because this is a very important class to learn, all right? With that, I say Ahmadu, which means to stand. We're going to give a courteous salute to the brothers, men of Israel, Ahmadu Shabbat, Ahmadu, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua Bakatham, Yadu Matah, Sar, Live walking, which means face and turn to sisters, alright? Men of Israel, we're going to give a curse salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, Ahmadu, Barak, Yahweh Shema, Alathah, Ba'ashim Yahushua, Alathah, Ba'ashim Yahushua, Salaki. Yadu Matah, with that, class dismissed.